President Donald Trump announced Friday that his administration's federal crime crackdown, currently underway in Washington, D.C., will target Chicago next. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, the president described Chicago as a mess that his administration would straighten out, suggesting the effort would not be difficult. He also named New York City as another municipality that could be targeted in the future. This announcement comes as the Pentagon confirms a much broader mobilization is set to begin, with up to 1,700 National Guardsmen deploying to 19 states in the coming weeks. This deployment is designed to assist the Department of Homeland Security with the administration's nationwide crackdown on illegal immigration and crime. Documents show that planning is underway for activations in states including Texas, Florida, Georgia, and Virginia, with operations scheduled to run from August through mid-November. Texas is expected to host the largest contingent of Guard personnel. Defense officials clarified that these National Guard soldiers will serve in a support capacity for a sweeping federal interagency effort. Their duties will not include direct law enforcement functions. Instead, they will handle case management, transportation, logistical support, and clerical tasks associated with processing migrants in ICE custody. These tasks may include personal data collection, fingerprinting, and DNA swabbing. The mobilization is authorized under Title 32, which keeps the Guard members under the command and control of their respective state governors, even while supporting a federal mission. This legal status is significant because it is not subject to the Posse Comitatus Act, which generally prohibits the use of the military for civilian law enforcement. A defense official explained that as planning evolved, it became clear that some of the support tasks required by ICE were close to the line of law enforcement, making Title 32 status the most appropriate legal framework. While most deployments are still in the planning stages, operations are slated to begin in states like Idaho, Indiana, and Iowa in the first week of September. The timeline will vary by state, pending coordination between governors and the Department of Homeland Security. One state, Vermont, has declined to activate its National Guard for the mission. This 19-state mobilization is distinct from the ongoing operation in Washington, D.C., where nearly 2,000 Guard members are supporting law enforcement with a mission focused on deterring crime and maintaining a visible security presence. President Trump has tied the D.C. effort to beautification ahead of next year's 250th Independence Day celebration, and has hinted he may extend the Guard's presence there indefinitely. Meanwhile, a significant leadership shakeup is underway at the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant General Jeffrey Kruse, along with two other senior military officials. The dismissal of General Kruse comes months after details of a preliminary DIA assessment were leaked to the media. That assessment questioned the effectiveness of U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, which were carried out in June under Operation Midnight Hammer. The DIA report concluded that the strikes had only set back Tehran's nuclear program by a few months. This finding stood in stark contrast to President Trump's public statement that Iran's program had been completely and fully obliterated. Following the leak, Secretary Hegseth had sharply criticized the press, accusing reporters of misrepresenting the facts and cheering against the administration's success. In a news conference at the time, Hegseth insisted the attack was historically successful. In addition to General Kruse, Secretary Hegseth also removed Vice Admiral Nancy Lacore, the Chief of the Navy Reserve, and Rear Admiral Milton Sands, a Navy SEAL officer who oversees Naval Special Warfare Command. The reasons for their dismissals have not been publicly disclosed. Vice Admiral Lacore was a naval aviator with 1,300 flight hours who commanded approximately 59,000 reserve personnel. Rear Admiral Sands is a decorated Navy SEAL who served in both Iraq and Afghanistan and held several high-level command positions within U.S. Special Operations. These firings are the latest in a series of high-level dismissals within the military in recent months, which have included the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and other top officers and lawyers from several service branches. Turning to foreign policy, President Trump said Friday that he is giving Russia and Ukraine a 2-week deadline to hold talks aimed at ending the war between the two nations. The president warned that if no significant progress is made within that time frame, he will make what he called a very important decision on the next steps for the United States. He outlined several potential courses of action his administration is weighing. These options range from imposing what he described as massive sanctions or massive tariffs or both, to taking no action at all and telling the warring parties, "It's your fight." The president told reporters that he will be closely watching the attitudes of both sides during this 2-week period before determining his final course of action. This ultimatum introduces a new and urgent dynamic into the long-running conflict, placing pressure on both Moscow and Kyiv to engage in negotiations under the threat of significant economic consequences from the United States. The statement signals a potential major shift in U.S. policy toward the conflict, with the administration now positioning itself to take a more decisive role, one way or another, in the coming weeks. The outcome of this 2-week window could have profound implications for the future of the war and for America's relationship with both Eastern European countries. Finally, the Department of Justice today released transcripts of interviews conducted last month with Ghislaine Maxwell, the associate of the deceased financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the release on the social media platform X, stating that the complete transcript and audio were being made public in the interest of transparency. The interviews were conducted as part of a proffer in relation to the sex trafficking cases brought against Maxwell. In the released transcripts, Maxwell at one point addresses President Trump's connection to Epstein. She denied that the president engaged in any wrongdoing, stating, "I have never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way." Maxwell characterized the relationship between Trump and Epstein as being friendly like people are in social settings. The release of these documents provides a direct look into Maxwell's statements to federal investigators on a matter that has been the subject of intense public speculation for years. The Justice Department's decision to make the full interviews public allows for direct scrutiny of her account of the events and relationships at the center of the Epstein case.